I believe our response to the Russian effort to interfere with our elections in 2016 was not muscular enough. This worries me because when you think about deterrence, and remember, deterrence is the perception of the bad guys and whether or not they can get away with attacking the United States, that our deterrence posture was not strong enough, which will lead not just the Russians, but a whole host of other nations and bad guys to try to attack our election systems and our democracy again. So, I wanted first to tell you a little bit about the Russians and some of the things they've done in the past and what they may do down the road. I've been watching the Russians and what they do in cyber and information operations for almost 2 decades now. I started as an intelligence officer in Germany a long time ago, focusing on the Russians, and what they're doing with cyber operations and info ops is not actually new. They've done this historically throughout the Cold War as the Soviet Union, where they tried to undermine trust in the democracy in the United States by exploiting fissures in society and by manufacturing information that they thought could break down the democratic system. What is new, however, is this new hybrid toxic mix of cyber attacks where they'll steal information, manipulate it, release it, and then amplify it throughout a social media cycle. That's something that's new and something that we need to learn how to deal with as a democracy, in particular when it relates to our campaigns and our election systems. But the Russians aren't the only ones who have the capability and the intent to do this. As I said, my fear is that other nation states will see what the Russians did to the United States in 2016 and also go after our democracy. The nation that I am most apprehensive about is North Korea. The North Koreans in particular over the last several years have developed a very potent cyber capability. So you'll probably remember, for example, that they conducted the first destructive cyber attack against the United States when they attacked Sony Pictures Enterprises and destroyed all of their networks. The North Koreans have a good reason to try to go after our democratic system because that's not the way North Korea runs. And in any escalation of tensions, they may be looking for a way to reach out and attack the United States. I'm also concerned about the Iranians. The Iranians have a long history of using cyber operations against the United States and our allies. So, for example, the Iranians conducted a destructive cyber attack against a large energy firm in Saudi Arabia several years ago. Also, they attacked our financial services sector, where they did a large denial of service attack against many of America's largest banks. So the Iranians are another group that could come after our democratic systems. It's sometimes hard to think when you're in the position of an election official or someone who cares about the democratic system of governance that these nation states are actually going after our elections. But they have both the intent and the capabilities. The capabilities I just spoke a little bit about, but what would their actual intent be? I want to make something very clear. I don't think that the nation states actually are always concerned about picking one candidate over another. Their real intent is to undermine trust in the democratic system that we have here in the United States. It's really important to recognize that because when we start to think about how to mitigate the risk of a cyber attack from a nation state, it's upholding that trust in our election systems and our democratic way of life that should dominate our response.